Bro, some clips don't just feel creepy. They feel like they're opening doors into things people are never supposed to understand. Today, we're getting into aliens and demons, cave exploring, grabovoi numbers, the Russian Revolution, and ancient civilizations. Come on, man. This is Brosky Ray. Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
UFOs are real and aliens are real, but they're not from outer space. And that's according to the top 2 UFO researchers after decades-long research. So go to Sabrel.com and
So where do they
it's
think
up
they're
there in
from
time.
if they're not from outer space?
They're interdimensional and potentially fallen angels disguising themselves because they're liars of something, like you said, can't be proven or disproven. I'm from this galaxy.
Finally, someone to speak the truth.
300 light years away.
This is kind of what Tucker Carlson thinks. He thinks there's a spiritual element to it, and he thinks they've always been here, and he thinks that this is what's kind of documented in the Bible as like good and evil. And
that's it, exactly. I mean, that's what's going on. I mean, the top 2 UFO researchers said UFOs are real, number 1. Number 2, they're not from outer space. And number 3, they're demonic. And that's what I talk about. Where it talks about fallen angels interbreeding with humans, it's talked about in Genesis 6, and creating a race called Nephilim, who were men of renown, world leaders.
It's not an accident that every Hollywood movie about the CIA is pro-CIA.
This has been running since the 1940s. What started with Walt Disney producing propaganda shorts for the military has now evolved into a formal permanent operation, one that now reaches into the biggest franchises on the planet. Numerous superhero films, including practically the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is the single biggest franchise in history, were all built on this from the ground up. Captain Marvel and Black Panther were both used directly in recruitment campaigns. The result was a documented spike in female applicants to the Air Force Academy. They literally called it the Captain Marvel effect. These examples just cover what we know for certain from a leak of 60,000 pages of documents, which confirmed the CIA has been involved in more than 2,500 productions in total. The Pentagon runs something called the Entertainment Media Office, a formal liaison operation that works directly with Hollywood studios. They support studios financially, offer advice on sensitive topics, and lend them specialist equipment and prime filming locations. In exchange for permissions, the CIA get to read and approve the script before a single frame is shot. They also have complete veto power, and directors are obliged to follow their word. A declassified CIA document released in 2019 all but confirms that, logging dozens of meetings between the CIA's Office of Public Affairs and executives from NBC, Time Warner, Viacom, Fox, Paramount, and CAA.
It includes lunches, development deals on campus filming approvals, and meetings to develop CIA-themed TV shows.
Governments had correctly identified that the media was the best way to access the minds of the public. So you may not be surprised to learn that Disney was the testing ground for how effective propaganda could be. Someone upstream decides what the acceptable worldview is, and the media is passed accordingly. The Pentagon did it with military values. The CIA did it with anti-communism. Hollywood does it now with whatever sells. The product always looks like entertainment and not ideology. They offer a singular worldview that runs through most Western mainstream media. While modern society came to describe this phenomena as woke, the more important aspect is the consent in manufacturing.
Of course. Damn CIA.
The pineal gland of the brain, which secretes the melatonin, which is the single eye, the third eye. Up until recently, scientists didn't know what the heck it did in the middle of the brain. But you know what? If you go back into the book, Genesis chapter 32, verse 30, Jacob says, I have seen God face to face. Here you had modern science not even knowing what the pineal gland did up until a few years ago. And here's Jacob 6,000 years ago saying, I have seen God face to face. I'll call the place pineal. He's talking about the pineal gland of the brain. It's phenomenal how little we know about ourselves and how much we've swallowed from religious teaching.
You know, I heard opening the third eye is demonic, but let me know how you feel about this in the comment. Mind blowing. Hopper? What? There's a giant papaya right there.
Beautiful beyond description, sparkling with hundreds of thousands of multicolored jewels in the brilliant sun or in the night illumination, it was the central and dominant feature of the Phantom City. In the center of the lovely South Gardens, the fountain of energy, flanked on either side by twin mermaid pools, greeted the eye of the visitor. And to the left was the Crystal Dome Palace horticulture, Byzantine architecture suggesting the Mosque of Ahmed I in Constantinople, housing within strange and beautiful plants from all the tropical world. To the right, Festival Hall, a shrine where music lovers worshipped, and where world-famous notables spoke to huge gatherings. And just back of the tower was
was dissolved during the same time as Braveheart in Scotland.
Yeah.
Cool. Folklore saying that there's a large majority of Templars that fled to Scotland because Robert the Bruce, King of Scotland, was giving them a safe haven. But it was the battle at Bannockburn, which is at the end of Braveheart, where the Scots beat the English and they gained their independence. The Scottish were losing that battle, and there was a group of men that came into the battle, scared the crap out of the English, and the Scots overtook the English. The theory is that there's a large group of Knights Templar that joined the Scots in that battle to beat the English.
That is so cool.
And the Knights Templar, they were known throughout the entire world as being the scariest of warriors.
Oh, wow.
Like they said that they would never surrender.
Man,
Even the
they're
Ottoman
beasts.
Empire said these guys are scary, so skilled, so brave, and like they would get their arm chopped off and keep fighting until they bled out.
Oh my
Jeez,
gosh. You can do that too, though.
Freemasons today
Yeah.
attribute back to the Knights Templar. Scotland became basically the birth center of Freemasonry.
Also, they went to Portugal, only country that ignored the Pope orders.
Okay, you might want to sit down for this one. So, you know how there's a lot of ancient art with like UFOs and stuff? Like this one, 950-year-old medieval painting depicting like a mothership. Did you know that there's a lot of ancient artwork that's attributed to describing judgment? Like God, Jesus coming down or being in the sky and beaming around judgment. And there was a situation in Nuremberg in 1561. Ancient art like fire in the sky, fights in the sky, battles in the sky. So there's a lot of ancient art depicting things in the sky. Here's the crazy part. We've been hearing about aliens for how many decades now? Aliens, 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 right? We know that aliens and planets might not be what they're cracked up to be either. So what if a day comes when we see motherships in the sky and it's actually judgment, but people either think it's a hologram and fake, project you know what, or they think it's legitimately aliens and the TV is telling them it's aliens. Because did you know the historical biblical descriptions of angels actually look like what you'd think aliens were? So we've been programmed, Star Wars, every single movie about aliens. You would think some of these are aliens if you saw them, but they're angels. So what kind of deception is possibly around the corner? I'm just saying, we've seen Hollywood make so many movies about so many different things, but we've never seen, and those things have happened, but we haven't seen aliens yet. And they're talking about disclosure this year. Programming.
Now, we're going to discuss more about this on my Rumble live stream channel. If you want to tune in, it's free to download, free to watch, and free speech. Comment the word Rumble below and check your DM.
You know, when God takes his people, the elite's going to say it was an alien invasion.
The most decisive battle in world history.
Oh, wow.
There's another group that was associated with the Knights Templar, but they're called the Knights Hospitaller. They're basically made of monks.
Whoa.
Like these monks that help people, but also were these elite warriors. After the dispersion of the Knights Templar and stuff, and the King of Spain, who's like, you guys can have the island of Malta. So there's like 500 Knights Hospitaller left.
Cool.
And this battle, it's called the Great Siege of Malta, and I never heard about it.
No.
1565. 60,000 Ottomans.
Oh, my Lord.
First 500. 500.
And they fought them, and these knights were chanting like for God, for St. John, and they were like hardcore. And the battle lasted about, I think it was like 5 months.
Oh, could you imagine?
The knights won. They ended up killing 30,000 Ottomans.
Oh my word.
These guys were different.
That battle instantly went through all of Europe, gave every country in Europe like the confidence, like, oh, we can beat these guys.
Yeah. Imagine seeing that battle.
You know what I think? The crusade needs to go to Europe and the West once again. You know.
Many of these theories, just like the theory behind these catacombs, the mainstream theories are all that, just theories, and there's many silly holes and many silly stories to create the gaps that they have, like especially with the Paris catacombs. So because of the plague and the overfilling of all of these cemeteries, they decided to strip all of these plague victims, all of that, their flesh, and bleach these bones and arrange them in the most darkest satanic way possible. I mean, if you're storing bones because of overcrowded cemeteries, why would you not just, keep them in some kind of coffin system, some kind of mass collection? Like, who would in their right mind allow like such desecration
Is that hard?
of remains? And that's, in my opinion, exactly what they are, dark desecration of remains. And what's even weirder about the Paris catacombs, it's not just remains that are there. The underground castles are also some very creepy places. Like, if I were to walk around through these catacombs and I came across this would almost scare me more than the skeleton hallways.
I mean, as far as storage, it's pretty organized.
Did you hear about what the CIA tech that they have called the ghost murmur? It can track your biometric data, your heartbeat, up to 40 miles away. So there's 2 pilots in Iran. Both their planes got taken down.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was able to get saved super quick.
Okay.
The other one, they didn't know where he was. In Iran, they put out $50,000 to $60,000 reward to anyone who could find this pilot. Thousands of people looking for this pilot.
So scary.
He was hiding in the mountains, and then the CIA found him 40 miles away in the wilderness. They ran it through their own AI program, found his exact biometric heartbeat, and they went in and they got him.
But does this not make sense of why we're pushing to have all this biometric data on Americans, like a wearables
Apple
and
watches
stuff? Aura rings.
Aura rings.
When you think of heartbeats, you're like, okay, the only thing you track is simply just beats per minute. But there's layers to it that signify who it actually is. Like, gives like a unique identity. That's wild.
That's crazy.
I mean, this is blowing my mind. Ghost Murmur, dude. What a good name.
Great name.
Good name.
I mean, this is cool and all, but I think the government is going to use this technology on us next.
Magic, 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 magic. Did you know that sex is really a curse? No, don't leave. Give me time. Let me explain to you. Just think about this for a moment. If 2 people use their sexual energy, they can bring another spirit into this world. So what else can we manifest? Maybe the elites know something we don't know, and it's dealing with sexual energy. This video is about to get a little dark and a little deep. Stay with me. This whole matrix is set up to drain your sexual energy. I mean, everything. It's kind of like our spirits are trapped inside of an energetic spider web. Remember, they put the truth in our face. We just stopped looking for it. When you look at a cell phone, it's not really a cell phone. It represents a woman. Just remember, the woman represents the portal. When you look at the bottom of your cell phone, what do it have? A charging point. What do the goddess have between her legs? A port. You see this image, you might think it's just a charger to a cell phone, but that's not true. The charger represents the man. The USB cord represents the cord men have between their legs. All you have to do is pay attention to it. If your cell phone is dying, what do? You take the charger, which is the penis, you inject it inside of the goddess or the charging port. Once you do that, it's like a man and a woman having sex.
Man, this analogy is crazy.
It's the same thing when you look at a keyhole. It's not really a keyhole, it's the goddess hole. When you look at a key,
hole.
It's not really a key. It's the man private part. And when you put the key inside of the hole, it's like a man putting this thing inside of a woman to unlock certain things. It's the same thing with an ATM machine. The ATM represents the goddess. The ATM card represents the man. And when you put your card inside of the ATM, what happens? Money come out. ATM machines or banks around the world, they represents the goddess that has money. Money represents currency or water. When a woman is pregnant, her water must break, and when it breaks, life come out, or I should say more money come out. The ATM, everything in the matrix is dealing with you and your energy. Most people don't know this, but if you can save your sexual energy, you really can have magic. Magic is about making everything manifest. But since we forgot about this, the elites are using that shit against us. By the way, today is a full moon. And you know what happened when it's a full moon? Yeah, everybody uses up their sexual energy. Learn more secrets. Check out my ebook.
It's going to be a lot of boom boom.
The link is in my bio.
What about married couples, though?
Are you familiar with the Lacerda files? This interview that happened in like the early 2000s, allegedly in Sweden, between a man and a woman who, you know, claims to be reptilian.
Yeah, I've come across that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so she. I mean, there's a lot of information there, and it's quite interesting because as you gather a lot of this information, it seems to corroborate like what she's been saying, which is, you know, just interesting data points. But she does talk about having like, you know, this control system that they're working with governments, so not unlike what you've been talking about as well, but also that there are these like colonies underneath like Asia that
I do
exist.
Think that. I do think that's, I think, you know, when people say, you know, are they physical or are they not physical? I would say, well, actually, all of the above.
But they're here.
Yeah, some are. I'm sure they're within the earth, operating within the frequency band that of our frequency band, human frequency band. But I say that the real point of reference, the real point of control, is actually in this other dimension.
So why are they here then? What's the point of being here, you think?
Well, I mean, they're not. You know, they're not necessarily all involved in manipulation. I mean, you know, just because something's reptilian doesn't mean it's you know evil in its own sense. In and of itself, I'm just saying that this other dimensional level is. But I do think that they are interacting with the human quote elite and human science and all that stuff within these very deep DUMBs or deep underground military bases all around the world, which tend, I would say, from what I can gather, to open out into areas where these reptilians are.
I know this hold on thing.
This is funny.
You don't get your motherfucking ass out the goddamn road. Bitch, you crazy in hell. It's dark out here too.
No.
I'm not stopping for there you go.
There's
Hey,
another one.
what's going on? Twin? Fuck you mean.
That's me with car and goes with no car.
The President of the United States, a congresswoman, and a former intelligence official are all saying the exact same thing right now. UFO files are supposed to be coming, and they include things that you would not believe. Okay. So President Trump went on camera just 2 days ago, and he basically said that he has personally seen UFO evidence, and that it includes, direct quote, things that you wouldn't believe.
They want to find out about the UFOs. And anything having to do with UFO or related material. And we're going to be releasing a lot of things from...
So what does that mean? He then said that disclosure is coming very, very soon and that he already signed an executive order back in February forcing every single agency to hand over what they have. Give it to me. But he's actually not even the only one saying this right now because the chairwoman of the House UFO Task Force just came out of a classified briefing and said that she saw evidence of objects that were not made by mankind. She then demanded 46 classified videos from the Pentagon by April the 14th, and then the Pentagon basically just ghosted her. So that's insane. And then on top of all of that, there's a former intelligence official who testified under oath in front of Congress. And he's saying that the files involve sentient non-human intelligence. That's a sworn government witness saying that on record. It's not a Reddit conspiracy theory. Those UFO files are supposed to be coming soon. Multiple different people have said it, and when they do, I will obviously cover it immediately. Just make sure that you are already adding me and you go ahead and add me now so you don't miss it whenever that comes out.
Anything to not deal with the Epstein files.
Demons don't sleep, baby. There was a quote I heard the other day. Once you understand that many people are not well spiritually and are fighting demonic battles internally while taking it out on you, you will discover that matching energy is an
Man, look at her nails. They look like demons.
unwise approach. Pray for them and remove yourself from the anxiety of disagreement and attack. You cannot match the energy of a demonic attack. A demon does not get tired.
That is spot on.
I mean, I sleep like a lion. However, the demons truly don't sleep. It's true.
Have you guys seen the movie The Congress?
No.
So The Truman Show and The Congress are two of my top favorite movies. I'm not a pop culture movie person, but you got to see The Congress. It took like 10 to 15 years to make because half of it is like all animation and it's like the trippiest animation. You might want to take some psychedelics and like watch that movie. It's about a washed up celebrity. This came out in what? The Congress 2010 maybe? Maybe earlier than that. She sells her likeness for what? $20 million or whatever it is. And then they create AI versions of her. And then it gets to a point where people can actually like drink a serum and like become that celebrity in this digital like AI type world. Like it's wild, guys.
I gotta
Watch
check this
The
out.
Congress. It is one of the best.
Wow. That's exactly what's happening.
Dude.
And that is so spot on because even in Congress right now, how they're getting exposed, they had their own files, the Congress files, to where they were essentially voting on their sexual misconduct and they blocked it, Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah.
So there's so much disclosure happening right now to where they're just getting found out. I got to check that movie out though.
Yeah, do it.
That's crazy.
Spot on.
Yeah, seriously.
Jeez. And it's always in the movies. That's why we're coming out with a
Always in the
show.
movies, yeah.
It's always in the movies because they encode things in the movies
They do.
to where you have karmic retribution. Hey, we're showing you just how they had that other movie, Wag the Dog.
Yep.
And we were talking about that to where essentially they had a scandal in the movie. The president has a scandal. He's messing with an underage girl. Then they create a fake war.
Epstein. Anybody?
Yeah.
Epstein?
Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
And it's now in Albania. And they're like, hey, let's create this fake war. We got a green screen, this, that. And that happened right before Clinton's scandal, like weeks before.
Did you see all the Super Bowl commercials?
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah.
Like Nerds Clusters and the gummies.
Yes.
Like,
I missed a lot of them.
and the likeness of the Epstein Island and like
I saw that one. Yeah, I saw that one.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. So the other night I was like, I woke up in the middle of the night, couldn't get back to sleep. And these words came to my mind and it's consent through compliance. That's what it is. So there's the law of free will, right? Like in the universe. And the way that the elites get around this law of free will is through showing us in plain sight. That's why they have to make these
I heard
commercials.
about
That's why
this.
they have to make these movies. That's why they have to disclose that they're a part of this top secret Illuminati thing
Right.
through symbolism and things like that, because we are consenting to it by not standing up and saying no, right? Our compliance in it is just like, well, yeah, it is what it is. It's just like, this is the world we're living in. We're agreeing to live in the world
Yeah.
by being okay with it.
Yeah, they're eating babies. I always say that.
We're consenting
They're
to
eating
it.
babies. They're
Yeah.
eating babies.
When will we stop complying?
They ate the baby. The maid that came out of the luxury hotel screaming, this was a few days ago, saying she saw that they ate the baby. Who? Some very powerful family members of an actress in the hotel had a ritual, was all caught by the maid. She's gone missing. She never misses work. She's always on time. If something's happening, she lets people know that she's not going to be there. She's nowhere to be found. Her family is looking for her. Her employer is looking for her. This is the second time I've seen where somebody sees something and then comes out frantically saying that they're doing something that bad, and then they're nowhere to be found. But she states she saw what she saw and said who did it, The controversy in Mexico is getting explosive when it comes to the rituals.
I hope she was just acting, but if this is real, it's so messed up.
Check out what this dude said about democracy in 1922.
When the masses cannot identify who truly guides them, they can be led to believe they are governing themselves. They call this system democracy. But what is democracy in practice? It is the rule of quantity over quality.
Hitler speak English now?
It is the triumph of manipulation over wisdom. It is a system designed to ensure that the masses believe they are free while serving purposes they do not understand. Look at how this system operates. There are always two parties, sometimes three, who appear to oppose one another. The public watches them fight. When one party exhausts public patience, the other takes power. Then the cycle repeats. The people believe they have made a choice. In reality, nothing has changed. The word freedom is constantly invoked. But what does freedom mean to those who rule? It means freedom to pursue their interest without interference. And what does freedom mean to the common man? He believes it means he can say what he likes and go where he pleases. He does not realize that the freedom to speak means nothing when the words that shape opinion are controlled by others.
What do you guys think? Democracy is just the rule of the majority over the minority. In a democracy, the majority could vote to unalive the minority and it would be legal. Do me a favor, if you made it this far, you like my content, check out this song I produced, Awkward Intelligence, featuring Gringo the MC, dopest white boy.
But I believe today the most serious, evil organization on the face of the earth is the Vatican. You're talking the Knights of Malta, which gave us the 6 men who founded the CIA in America, were all Catholics, members of the Knights of Malta. When you begin to look at the banking fraternities in America, like the Bank of America, Union Bank in California, all of these people who founded these banks and today are running the banking establishment are all Knights of Malta, Catholic Masonry. All the kings and rulers in Europe rule by the divine right. It's called the divine right of kings. What are you talking about? Who represents divine to give the king the right? The Pope. The Pope appoints certain families to be over the French. The Pope appoints certain people to be over the Germans and over the British. And so by divine right. Why? Because the Pope represents God. And the Pope says that this family is holy and that they should rule. And therefore, they can now say they rule by divine right.
There are 7 planets which make all these frequencies happen. Those 7, which are aligned with your 7 chakras, and that's how you have a body, because you have 7 chakras, the color of the rainbow is in you. The bottom one's red, the top one's blue. Red shift, blue shift.
Red, blue, Democrat, Republican.
Red pill, blue pill. Roses, red, violets are blue. Red siren, blue siren. Red tap, blue tap.
How do we know that's real?
Because of the frequency. And they tell you the red chakra has 4 petals. The orange one above has 6. The yellow one has 10. The green heart chakra has 12. This one has 16. The third eye has 96. Top one, a violet, has 1,000. When you add all the 6 bottom ones, you come to 144. Thank you, Bible, Revelation 14. When you multiply with the 1,000-petal lotus on the top, the crown, Kronos chakra, then you get 144,000, the magical number. It's in you. It's in your chakras. So why has the bottom one got 4 petals, which is red, and why has the blue chakra got 16 petals? Because they're telling you it has a higher frequency. And if you get a blue laser as opposed to a red laser, which one is going to burn you more? Which one's more powerful, red or blue?
Is a new HBS.
Hey, right. So we've been having a nice little discussion about how this is the Grand Canyon and that's the Red Sea, and it's found in your Geneva Bible, right? Now, somebody that was on my Facebook post shared a clip from a book that was created out of the places of the Bible's locations, which I actually have a physical copy of coming to me, right? Notice how the Old Testament world is labeled as the area now known as the United States. Now, there's been controversy over this map that I've shown you because it shows the Red Sea being right here, right next to the Grand Canyon, as shown in the picture. Now, people are saying that this is bullshit and da-da-da-da, but let me show you something. Let me show you how they got rid of the Red Sea. See, this is the location of the Grand Canyon, right where California and the rest of the land met. they got rid of the rivers by putting the dams on the water that ran to it. No more Red Sea.
So you're saying the Grand Canyon was the Red Sea?
Is the beautiful, beautiful U.S. Capitol. And the dome was built during the Civil War period. They tell us the big cast iron portion of this dome Capitol was built between 1855 and 1866. That means they were constructing this massive iron dome weighing millions of pounds while the country was literally fighting a civil war. They were using the Capitol as a hospital and a barracks as well during the Civil War, one of the most bloodiest wars in America's history. And they were also building a millions of pound cast iron dome. They were using the Capitol as a barracks, as a hospital, and as a construction site. And they were even baking bread in the basement for troops. Yet somehow they continued to work on this enormous, intricate dome project during the bloodiest war in America's history.
Wow.
So if you don't mind, I'll ask you, what is Kabbalah?
Kabbalah is the science of electromagnetics. Everything is. Christianity, Kabbalah. Kabbalah comes from the hyperbola. The hyperbola is the source and cause of all spiritual teachings. The hyperbola is in the center of every atom and every torus field. Hyperbola. It's the word of God. That's why we get the word hyperbole. When you speak in hyperbole, it speaks. So the hyperbola is the speaker, the word of God. Kabbalah, Baal, Baal, Bel,
Baal.
all of these Baal words, it's the hyperbola. And that's why you have words like diabolical, that's the devil, diablo. Diabol means dipole. It's two poles, red shift, blue shift.
Right.
So Kabbalah teaches you that science, the science of how white light splits.
It's Jewish occultism.
Produces red shift, blue shift, physical, electrical world. And it's the science of how that happens. It's everything is. There's no other subject. If you ask me what is mathematics, what is alchemy, what is astrology, what is Kabbalah, what is Toltec wisdom, it's all the science of electromagnetics, because that's all that exists. There's nothing else to talk about. There's nothing else to talk about. If you talk about your girlfriend, you're talking about electromagnetics. If you're talking about atoms, it's electromagnetics. If you're talking about your job, it's electromagnetic.
Right.
If you're talking about your health, it's electromagnetic. Mountains, waterfalls, stars, galaxies, God. Doesn't matter. These glasses, these are electromagnetic. I can prove that to you. These are made of atoms which are electromagnetic. This remote control, this herbal tea, these brewer's yeast.
So is it good or bad?
There's nothing outside of the one subject, electromagnetics. Once we get that into our thick skulls, then we will understand all things.
That's great.
If you think Elon Musk is on our side, building Skynet, it's for the Antichrist system where no human being can escape the web, the Internet of Things. What does a web do? World Wide Web. It entangles its prey, Danny. There's no escape. That's what the Internet is. And if you put in digital currency with that, my friend, there will be no escape. So what is coming for us is coming for all of, not just America, the whole world. America was used like the mafia uses a hitman to set up the global agenda. And now, while we were busy enjoying our drinks and let's go Jets,
we had a dude on here yesterday who was telling us how American football was created by the CIA as the way to pacify the society.
People know more about that than they do in the history of the state they live in. Bread and circus of the Romans. It's the same tricks, the same evil.
I was about to say that.
The same battle that started in the heavens that humanity has been fighting ever since. The enemy has always been one core enemy, Danny. Ignorance. It is ignorance why we are where we are. People need to wake the fuck up.
The temple is yet to be built on the holy site.
One of the world's dirtiest secrets is that the exterminated Jews in Nazi Germany were not considered real Jews. They were considered Khazar Russians and Eastern Europeans whose ancestors converted to Judaism in 740 AD under their king, King Bulan. Their bloodline dates back to the Turkish tribes and to the powerful empire of Khazaria that once controlled all of Russia. Arthur Koestler, who wrote The 13th Tribe, claims that over 90% of today's Jews are racially non-Jewish and have no genetic relationship to the 12 tribes of Israel. Today's Jews, says Koestler, are more related to Attila the Hun than King Solomon of Israel. 2,000 years ago, when the Roman conquerors evicted the 12 tribes from Israel, the largest tribes, called Dan and Naphtali, settled in Denmark and Norway. Their Viking king, called King Canute.
I might be wrong. I heard it's illegal to do DNA tests in Israel.
There was a man named Stanley Kubrick who produced and directed his last movie called Eyes Wide Shut. The movie Eyes Wide Shut, I think, from what indications I've received out of Hollywood, he died because of that film. I think he was assassinated because of that film, and I think he knew that his days were cut short. You need to get the movie, rent it and watch it, Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick. Because in the movie, he shows how very sophisticated, wealthy, intelligent elites actually live, what their secret societies, blood sacrifices, murder, rape, pornography, killing. But on the surface, they are very important looking people. They have nice suits and they look good on television. And behind the scenes, they're murderous. And that's what the movie was called, Eyes Wide Shut, because that's exactly what America is doing. It's looking at these politicians and religious leaders with their eyes wide shut. Political leaders, religious leaders, all the same thing.
Do you remember what started the Second World War? Initially, it was just a territorial dispute between Germany and Poland. The Germans wanted back the German territory, which had been taken away from Germany and given to Poland at the end of the First World War. But when the Germans, under Hitler, began taking back that territory in September 1939, Britain and France declared war on Germany, ostensibly to protect the freedom of Poland. The Germans had done nothing against Britain and France and wanted very much to remain at peace with those countries, but the politicians of Britain and France had other considerations. The fact that the Soviet Union also invaded Poland in September 1939 was all right with Britain and France. They didn't declare war on the Soviet Union because the Soviet Union was, for all practical purposes, under Jewish rule. They did declare war on Germany because Germany under Hitler had broken loose from the grip of the Jews and had freed the German media and German education and German finance and German politics and German culture from Jewish influence and was in the process of kicking all of the Jews out of Germany. That was the reason for the Second World War, not Polish freedom or Polish territorial integrity. That was the reason why, when in April 1943, the German army discovered the mass graves of some of the 25,000 Polish officers and intellectuals murdered by Jewish communists and invited the International Red Cross and journalists from many nations to view the evidence. The controlled media in Britain and the United States ignored the evidence and blamed the atrocity on the Germans. That was the reason why, at the end of the war, those countries which had gone to war ostensibly to ensure the freedom of Poland agreed to turn Poland and Latvia and Hungary and the rest of Eastern Europe over to the communist butchers who had carried out the massacre of the elite of the Polish nation. Of course, the communists economically drained and ruined all of these countries. And these communists were Jews, which is to say, the Jews were the prime movers in the communist regimes imposed on those countries after the war, and also were the primary beneficiaries of the regimes. In Hungary, for example, there was the regime of the communist Jew, Mátyás Rákosi, followed by another communist Jew, Ernő Gerő, In Romania, the communist Jewess Anna Palker ruled the country as first secretary of the Central Committee.
This is the first time I'm hearing it, but let me know how you feel about this in the comment.
Spirit Airlines just collapsed overnight. And if you think that this is about one cheap airline disappearing, then you're not paying attention. This is about to hit your pockets, your travel, and the entire airline industry. After 30 plus years in the game, Spirit Airlines is shutting down operations. Flights canceled, customers stranded. And just like that, one of the biggest ultra-low cost carriers is gone.
Spirit, believe it or not, started flying in 1983. I think it was called Charter Air at the time. And in 1992, it changed its name to Spirit. So we've been in the air since 1983. What is that? 43 years. And unfortunately, that's over.
Now, here's what really happened. We all know that Spirit built its whole business on being the cheapest option in the sky. Charge you for everything else. Bags, seats, even damn near breathing. That model only works when costs stay low. But in this economy, we know that everything went up. And let's start out with fuel prices. Fuel prices are up. Operation cost is up. Competition is way worse. You got airlines like Delta and United offering cheaper economy options. They were bleeding money. Now think about this. They just canceled Spirit overnight. You got people that had tickets to go places. You got people that was ready to come back from places that they went via Spirit. So what's going to happen? Are they going to get reimbursed? Will Spirit be issuing refunds? Because Spirit ain't even a company no more. It's over. And we already know the reason it's all over. It's all over because of the economy. This ain't the only thing that's going to be closing. It's going to be a lot of shit to follow behind Spirit. Mark my words. I'm out.
When did
Agenda 2030, baby?
mosquitoes start looking like this, bruh? Look at this shit. This joint look like something off a sci-fi movie. That joint look like an animatronic. Tell me I'm tripping. Y'all ever seen a mosquito looking like this? Look at the legs, bruh. That joint look like the little joint at the car wash. The little spin brush. That joint look souped up. That joint look like it got an upgrade. That joint purple, blue, black. Look at the damn antlers. And then the fact that this man letting it suck his blood is crazy to me. You don't know what this joint got. You don't know where this joint came from. If that joint landed on me, I'm instantly taking off my shirt, boy. That joint coming smooth off. I'm telling you. It just got you thinking like, this shit ain't normal, fool. It ain't normal to my eyes. If it's normal to your eyes, let me know if you've seen it before. It's just like the tick situation. How many ticks I've been seeing? That shit ain't normal to my eyes.
So you're telling me that the
2 words. Bill Gates.
CIA has cheat codes to the universe. Codes that will allow you to hack the universe. And nobody knows about it? The codes are called grabovoi codes. At first I thought it sounded crazy. And then I went down that rabbit hole. And they're saying that these codes are connected to the human body itself. And here's where it gets crazy. I went and I searched numerous videos. Bumped into a video of a man saying that his body was filled with pain. And he tried to code 55515 and his pain went away. Kept digging deeper down that rabbit hole. Seen a video of this woman. She said she didn't believe any of this. She said she came across a video telling her the same code that the man used, 55515. She said she tried using that number when she was in pain. Pain went away. She said she focused directly on where the pain was, locked in mentally, and started repeating one sequence over and over, like a mantra. 55515, 55515, 55515. And according to her, it worked. So I started digging more. And apparently, they have way more codes than that. Codes for unexpected money. Codes for abundance. Codes for bringing your lover back. Codes to manifest fame. So another video about a girl saying she learned about these codes. She used these codes to manifest a car. And look what happened.
Last night, I came across this TikTok video and led me into this YouTube video that explained a lot more about grabovoi codes to me, and it provided some codes to me to activate with this website, right? So hold on. I have been manifesting to get me a car for the longest, but why does the grabovoi code work a lot faster than any of my other manifestations, bro? As you see, March 23rd, yesterday, I am going to activate the code right here, and this is literally me buying a car, right? And boom, I get a text message from my grandma asking, "You want to buy my car?" What the fuck?
Is that enough proof for you? I'm out.
What
I
is
don't
a
know, man.
skinwalker? A skinwalker is a shape-shifting demonic entity. It's essentially a Native American witch or warlock that sells their soul in exchange for immortality, the ability to take on the skin or shape-shift, oftentimes in the form of a wolf, a dire wolf, or a werewolf-like creature, but they can also take on the shape of other animals as well. It's a topic that I found the Native American community likes to stay away from. They don't like to discuss it. To even say the name skinwalker is negative.
So now
The Arabs call them jinn.
it has been confirmed that there has been 13 deaths of these so-called scientists, these UFO experts, these people who spoke about aliens. It doesn't even matter. See, this is exactly why I teach discernment, right? When are y'all going to learn that all of this is a psyop? Especially when you have shows like The Breakfast Club, whose audience is primarily melanated, trying to get our attention and also our energy into this whole matter as well. And the reason why The Breakfast Club is talking about it is because we backed out of everything. Everything that has been going on with the world, with this terrorists, with these war, with the oil, right? We collectively backed out of it. We don't want nothing to do with it. So I need you guys to remember and realize that all of this is a psychological operation. Because what is an alien? What is an alien? Because they told us what the alien is, right? Like the ones who don't belong here, like the real aliens. You see? The real aliens, they're the ones who's telling us about the so-called aliens. Y'all see what I'm saying? Because if it's just only us, if it was just us on this realm, where did they come from? That's why when you break down the word alien, it's a lie in. A lie in. Even in China, they said they found 12 scientists dead in China who spoke about UFOs and aliens and all that type of stuff. A lie in. I said this before. That's why one of America's favorite movies is A Lion King. The reason why that is because we're living a giant lie. We really have people who don't even belong here dictating our lives and telling us what to do, how to eat, what to eat, how to drink, how to think. They are the lie that's in this realm. So much so that they want us to believe that they are real Israel. But it's really a lie in. Y'all get what I'm saying? It's really a lie in, bro. Y'all gotta see what I'm talking about, man. I cannot go too deep in here. But the fact of the matter is, the reason why these people are coming up missing is because the aliens were never real in the first place. All of this is a lie. It's a psychological operation. I've been telling my people, the one who's been following me on YouTube for quite some time now, this is all a psychological operation. We are in a simulation, a video game. If y'all don't wake up and realize that these have been the real aliens on our land, bro, I don't know what to tell you. But the fact of the matter is, I've been said this was going to happen. Why? Because the lie is over. We're in the age of truth now, the age of disclosure. That's why all of this is coming down. The lie is over. They can't lie anymore. Y'all gonna see, bro. I'm telling you guys, the shit is here. Let me know what you guys think about it. Let's continue to get it. Peace in.
That sounds insane.
Yeah.
How do they specifically describe that?
They describe it just like that. According to the Anunnaki, human beings were created in a way that genetically we were supposed to become more superior than them, and that all the secrets of the universe are within our body. And I believe that because when I started studying DNA, I discovered this scientist called George Church, and he created this ebook that he was able to take from a digital format, and he was able to download it onto 1 gram of DNA, converted it from zeros and ones into A's, T's, and G's, put it on the DNA. Then he said, wow, this is incredible. DNA can store information in a volume. So he replicated the book 80 billion times on 1 gram of DNA. So then he said, let's see if we can get it back. So he converted it from A's, T's, and G's back to zeros and ones and uploaded it back to the server. So now he knows that DNA can upload and download information.
Whoa.
So now they said, okay, well, how much data can be stored on one drop? Over 433 petabytes of data. Petabyte is 1,000.
All right, I'm going to have to check with West Huff about this, Billy.
Did you know a Dominican friar was burned alive for teaching that your mind could literally reshape reality?
Giordano Bruno discovered ancient secrets that terrified the church so much. They tortured him for 8 years trying to make him recant. Bruno wasn't just studying astronomy. He was deep into the Emerald Tablets, unlocking hermetic principles that revealed how consciousness connects with cosmic intelligence. He taught that infinite worlds existed, and that human minds possess divine power to manipulate celestial forces. His revolutionary idea, that through specific mental techniques, anyone could achieve union with the universe itself. He believed our pineal gland was the gateway to perceiving beyond physical reality, accessing what we now call the Akashic records. The Inquisition knew these teachings would shatter their control. Bruno's work with sacred geometry and vibrational laws showed people they didn't need intermediaries to reach the divine. His martyrdom in 1600 wasn't just about science. It was about suppressing humanity's true potential. Today, modern consciousness research is finally catching up to what Bruno died protecting. The ancient wisdom he preserved connects directly to pineal activation and reality manifestation, like follow, comment, or share to keep this hidden knowledge alive.
Okay, someone put together this video, which completely exposes the truth about what's going on with Iran, with this whole conflict. His name is Solar Cast Archive, and you need to hear this, because it is literally what's going on. There's all kinds of stuff you can get wrapped around the axle thinking, it's because Trump, it's because Iran, it's because Israel. Listen to this, because this is the real reason behind this conflict.
2026 Iran war is not about nuclear weapons or freedom. It is a manufactured
Bro.
crisis designed to spike oil prices and lock in the next phase of control.
That's a heavy claim. Walk me through the receipts.
Oil prices jumped over 40% in the first few weeks, exactly like 1973, 1991, 2003, and 2011. Every major Middle East conflict conveniently creates an oil shock.
You're saying the pain is intentional?
Yes. Then they roll out the solution, electric vehicles. They tell you EVs will save you from high gas prices.
But most people can't afford a $50,000 electric car when everything is already expensive. So what happens when they can't buy the EVs either?
Exactly. Then comes the next step they already have planned. 15-minute cities. Everything you need. Food, work, healthcare, locked inside a small zone. Your movement, spending, and behavior scored by AI in real time.
This is convenience disguised as a cage.
Precisely. Higher oil prices create the crisis. EVs offer the expensive trap. 15-minute cities finish the job. This is not random foreign policy. It is economic warfare.
Now, don't expect to see that information written in
crazy.
any mainstream news anywhere, because, well, that would be them revealing the truth, which they often do not do. Now, I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you they do not want you to be of sound mind.
This is not what you think it is. I was just warning yesterday about the rising water temperature and, the El Nino or whatever that's coming, the worst in 150 years. There's absolutely a Red Sea, but why is it a Red Sea? These are all dead shrimp. Completely irrelevant. You remember when Gina posted this a couple days ago? And it was just like all these random beams just heading into the ocean and also, into these certain countries. And now, randomly, unrelated, we have millions and millions of shrimp just passing away in the water, turning the water blood red, by the way. And people think that everything is normal. Totally.
This is footage from 1896. This is the coronation of Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia. This is a time when Russia was the center of worldwide Orthodox Christianity. Over 60,000 churches donned the land, 25,000 chapels, 1,000 monasteries, and 60 seminaries. Moscow referred to itself as the Third Rome after the fall of the First Rome in the 5th century to the barbarians, and then the fall of the Second Rome, which was Constantinople in the 15th century. And Russia saw itself, Imperial Russia, as the place where crown and cathedral united in defending Christendom all the way up to the beginning of the 20th century. And then, October
what happened?
1917, the Bolshevik Revolution, Minneapolis, no, sorry. It could be. Immediately upon seizing power, the Bolsheviks launched a bloody purge of Christianity from Russia. They demolished thousands of churches. By the 1930s, of those 60,000 churches, less than 2,000 stood. Upwards of 200,000 clergy were executed in the course of 20 years.
There is a demon in hell whose entire job is to help you build your dream life.
What?
And he's very, very good at it. Meet Malthus, one of the most powerful presidents of hell. According to the Goetia, he commands 40 legions of spirits, and his speciality isn't fire, isn't torment, isn't chaos. It's construction. He appears first as a crow, silent, still, watching you, studying you. Then, if he decides you're worth his time, he shifts, takes the form of a man, speaking in a hoarse, broken voice. He can build towers, strongholds, fortresses. He tears down the defenses of your enemies from the inside. He summons familiars. He hands you hidden knowledge, secrets buried by men who took them to their graves, things that were never meant to be found. He gives you everything. And then he waits. Because the Goetia doesn't just introduce Malthus, it warns you explicitly. The very ritual required to summon him demands a sacrifice, and he will accept it, thank you for it, bow his head, and begin planning your destruction before you even finish the ceremony. He'll give you the kingdom. He just won't let you live in it. By the time you realize what happened, it's already too late. And by too late, they mean you're already dead.
At what cost, though?
What is it like inside the mind of the most powerful cult on Earth? In The Mind of the Jesuit, Nelson C. Turner prolifically documents how the central defining characteristic of the Jesuit mind is the complete surrender of personal conscience and will to the superior general, aka the Black Pope. Turner shows that a Jesuit is trained to commit, quote, moral suicide, surrendering his will until he becomes like a, quote, corpse or a mindless stick in the hands of his superior general. The Jesuit is taught to view his superior general as Christ himself, meaning that any command given, no matter how evil or contrary to scripture, must be obeyed blindly as the absolute will of God. This destruction of individuality transforms the Jesuit into a spiritual zombie capable of executing the darkest plots without a shred of remorse. Because of this fluid morality, the Jesuit can act as a chameleon, adopting any disguise, profession, or political ideology necessary to infiltrate and subvert his targets. According to the writings of Jesuit moral theologians, members of the order are permitted to lie under oath, steal, and engage in immorality if it ultimately serves a, quote, righteous purpose. Most alarmingly, Turner documents how the Jesuits are taught that it is lawful and highly meritorious to assassinate any leader who opposes their agenda. To achieve world domination, the Jesuits operate a vast, sophisticated intelligence network fueled by mutual espionage, informers, and lay coadjutors who secretly serve the order while holding secular positions. Turner attributes the massive conflicts of the 20th century, including world wars, communist revolutions, and even the rise of the Nazi Party, to Jesuit manipulation. And today, to anyone with eyes to see, the Jesuits are clearly in the process of fomenting their next revolution, just like they've done time and time again, and they are succeeding. The ultimate goal of the Jesuit order is an absolute global spiritual and temporal theocracy where the possibility of independent thought is extinguished, and all of mankind is brought into mindless servitude to the Black Papacy.
The reason why they're doing this is that they want us to become entranced by the idea of this religion, to have it be cool, to have it be trendy. So one of the things they do is this symbol, which is 666. Each finger is one of the stems of the six. So you'll see people do stuff like this. You'll also see them put their finger over their eye like this. That's the all-seeing eye. Or they'll do this a lot. You'll have this kind of symbolism. So they're out there putting out these sigils and signs and codes and symbols, and they do it through things like pop music. So people start watching what's ever popular, and they're seeing flames, and they're seeing people dancing around in Baphomet horns, and they're seeing all this really strange stuff. Their goal, again, is to acquaint us with their religion so that if they get their goal realized, which is to create a massive world economic collapse, greatly reduce population, and then come out as our liberators, giving us this technology, giving us what they consider to be freedom. we would actually be trading our sovereignty for a much greater level of tyranny.
We do not consent.
Native Americans are connected to the Hebrew Israelites. Stick with me now. There's always been a big secret among colonial circles as to just who the natives really are. And if you do enough digging, you'll find many early explorers, missionaries, and colonial linguists all recorded multiple similarities between the natives and the Hebrews. Many who are certain that these were the 10 lost tribes of Israel mentioned in the Bible. So let's get into it. Starting off with the linguistic similarities, the name of God. You have Yehovah, Yod-Hevah, Yehoah, Yohiwa. Just coincidence? Of course not. This is a copy of an 1826 book I grabbed called View of the Hebrews, or the Tribes of Israel in America, where the author compiled as many parallels as he could, noted by historians and explorers long before the cover-ups began. And I quote, "Their language appears clearly to be Hebrew." This is him discussing with a white trader who spent over 40 years among them. They also documented many words that were either identical or bearing striking similarities to that of the Hebrew. And here's a screenshot of more similarities you can find in that book. Also, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise to the first cause. These findings were also noted in many older books long before the hijackers at the Bureau of Ethnology and the Smithsonian discouraged the entire field. Many native tribes also refer to a singular almighty God as the Great Spirit, or Ahaya. And when we look at the etymology of the Hebrew Yahweh, what do we see? Earlier form of Haya, or Hawa, the one who is. The one who is. The same context in which God revealed himself to Moses at the burning bush, saying, "I am that I am." And there it is again, Haya. And you can hear it in their music if you just listen. You think those chants were just for nothing? They were saying Yahweh their way. Many other comparisons that were drawn were ritual behaviors, including purification rites, mourning customs, ceremonial practices, and social traditions that echo Mosaic law. Even some of the most accredited names and influential figures shared this belief. Ezra Stiles, 7th president of Yale, founder of Brown University, and a Hebrew scholar, contested to his peers that the Algonquin language strongly resembled that of ancient Hebrew, and that they were descendants of the Canaanites. William Penn, founder of Pennsylvania, held this same thought. And I quote, "They reckon by moons, they offer the first fruits, they have a feast of tabernacles, their altar stands on 12 stones, their mourning lasts a year, the customs of their women are like those of the Jews, their language is concise, masculine, full of energy, resembling the Hebrew. One word serves for three. One word serves for three. Interesting. Now let's get into the artifacts, starting in Ohio. Did you know that the ancient natives have a 10 commandments, and they're nicknamed the Newark stones, which were found in the burial chamber of an ancient Indian mound? The most popular is called the Decalogue stone. This stone has the entire 10 commandments engraved on it in ancient block Hebrew writing. The man in the middle is holding tablets and wearing a turban, and the name above his head says Moshe, which means Moses. The other stone is nicknamed the Keystone. It has ancient Hebrew writing.
This rabbit hole is crazy.
On all four sides. The King of the Earth, the Word of the Lord, the laws of Jehovah, the Holy of Holies. And the 10 Commandments aren't just found in Ohio. The Cheyenne tribe also knows about the 10 Commandments from their ancestors. And the commandments are also found carved in a boulder in the mountains of Los Lunas, New Mexico. Another artifact that academia will claim is fake, but if you ask the natives around, they'll tell you it's been there long before any white explorers came to the area. Now, on many native artifacts, you'll see this symbol. It's a sacred symbol that has been preserved by the Algonquin, passed down by their ancestors. It is the name of the creator, Yod-Heh-Vah. It's read right from left, like Hebrew, and it's been found all throughout eastern US and Canada, especially in the Michigan relics, where over 20 to 30,000 artifacts were all labeled as a hoax. I mean, hey, if it goes against the narrative, just label every single last one of them as a fake. Many of these artifacts were made from copper and black slate from the Keweenaw Peninsula, ancient copper mines that are there. And many of these tribes were experts in copper and other metal work. For example, here's more Hebrew carvings found in Connecticut with some names of the Hebrew prophets. The Matrix says it was just some goofball who happened to know Hebrew. He was taking a lunch break from the mines, and then he decided to carve these names into the rock. Right. Academia loves to dismiss the tens if not hundreds of thousands of artifacts proving the ancient Israelite connection as fakes. But then how do they explain the preserved customs and language? They can't, which is why they covered it up. And today people associate this with Mormons, that Mormons made this all up. But if you remember that book I first shared, View of the Hebrews, well, Joseph Smith had an oracle, Oliver Crowdery, who actually went to the church that the author Ethan pastored at several years before meeting Joseph. See, Mormons stole this info. They act as both the physical and spiritual gatekeepers to anyone seriously considering America as having ancient biblical ties. That's the hijack. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The lost tribes of Israel were said to be exiled and scattered across different regions, right? Well, some native tribes speak about a time when they had a book by the Creator himself, and then other people got it and they fell under displeasure of the Great Spirit. But one day they'd regain it. Well, in Amos 8:11, the Lord says he will send a famine on the land, not of food or water, but a famine for hearing the word of God, that they will wander and seek to find his word, but shall not find it. And last but not least, another example is the Cherokee tribe, who have a creation story that is almost exactly the same as described in Genesis. This is their words. You can pause to read it. So you have to ask yourself, why is America presented as having no real past at all? The largest, most resource-rich continent on Earth. Nothing but tiki huts and totem poles up until a few hundred years ago. Come on. It's time to wake up.
Is this what the Book of Mormon teaching?
Holy chat, this encyclopedia from
Yo.
1958 proves that they found a dome. Watch this.
Okay, you guys remember how I showed you the maps that were here on Earth before 1958, before the governments took them out? And I'm going to show you the Encyclopedia Britannicas in the public libraries before 1958. Here is volume 2 out of the alphabet A. And we're going to flip to the Antarctica, and this is from 1958, as you can see. Now, we're going to flip to the Antarctica and see what the Encyclopedia Britannica from 1958, before the Antarctic Treaty, says is there. Now, you won't find this in the new encyclopedias because the government's banned them. But what I want you to notice right here is, notice how it says the flights proved inland areas to be featureless in character with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees south, longitude 90 degrees east. Take a really, really close look at that. Now I'm going to zoom it in for you. When they returned to New Zealand, these flights proved the inland areas to be featureless in character with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees south, longitude 90 degrees east. Now, if this doesn't make sense to you, let me show you with an image of what a flat Earth map would look like. Now, this is what latitude 80 degrees south would look like on a flat Earth map. As you can see, the dome comes down closer to you over the wall, which will be about 13,000 feet. Now, if you go back out into the center of the Earth, or up the North Pole, and try to go up to the firmament with a little bit of calculation, it's going to show that it's about 385,500 feet away. It's really, really simple, folks. Now, if you're not familiar with any of this at all, and you're just now new to all this, you can say, well, this guy is crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But what you got to ask yourself is, why do all the maps before 1958 show a flat Earth with the ice wall around it and a firmament, a dome? And why does the encyclopedia tell you that there's a dome there, and it gives you the exact height at a certain latitude and longitude? Well, the reason is because in 1958, that's when all governments and all nations of the world signed the UN treaty to ban all civilians from going to the Antarctica, and NASA came in and erased everything, just like they're erasing everything today. So again, ask yourself, if all this existed before 1958, why doesn't it exist now? How come it all of a sudden was erased and just disappeared out of your history books, out of your encyclopedias, out of your libraries? Wake up, people. Wake up.
Yeah, man. Why is it that if you go on Google Maps satellite, you can zoom in on any place on the Earth except Antarctica? It's all blurred out.
I wanted to get into your post, Money, Sex, and Sorcery, Why Religions Use Rituals. The first money ever created was a temple token that bought access to a possessed prostitute.
So I say a possessed
what?
Because we hear temple.
Yes.
And then also the word prostitute is a weird one because you might think of a street. We have no real understanding by design of what those things actually meant to the ancients, because there was a thing. It served a system. It was part of the system and it had a function. The oldest token currency is a Sumerian shekel. It was specifically a token because it was used to pay for an evening with a lady of the night. But what her job was not just a good time. It wasn't frivolous. It was sacred.
Frivolous.
And so it's because you paid for the but it's sacred because it functioned as a way to call down God. You experienced the divine.
What?
Now, how you got that, you had to bring a portion of your yearly wheat crop to this temple. The temples were built on riverbeds, and so that was the current. You would travel the flow of that current, and you would end up at the temple. You would bring in your cash crop, and you would give it to as an offering to the temple, which would be an offering to the god. You would get that token, and then you could be with God, and you could be with God through being with this woman.
Wow. For even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light.
There's a reason that they've been spraying us and putting certain materials in all of our food and water. I think I know what it is. I'm going to show you this clip, and then I'm going to show you what I think it relates to. And just for the record, I would never hurt myself, and I don't do anything dangerous.
Does anybody else wonder why they keep finding hella metal in our food? What I told her is how much metal you have in your body will affect you when this thing happens. It has to do with frequency. Okay, so that I stay safe and I can come back and I stay alive, I'll tell you something. I will give you a hint of what he showed me. It's going to happen. And you have to get rid of these metals in your body. And I know exactly how to do it very easily. If you want to do it fast and quick, it would be green drinks. Anything green, and, the whole fiber thing and all that. I know. But what I'm saying is there's something with chlorophyll that has to do with it matches. It's very close to your blood in its structure. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so you have to have a carrier that will grab things and take them out of your body, okay? That's why I wanted her to speak to you about this. So if you want to know what's going to happen, and it could happen tomorrow, it could happen, but they're going to say it's something else. You're going to have to do your own thinking about this. I don't want to get in trouble. But just stick a piece of foil in a microwave and picture that in your body.
Ugh.
And now you know the devil's plan.
Matthew 24, Jesus says that the second coming will be like lightning that comes from the east and shines as far as the west. So it's coming from the sun. So will be the coming of the Son of Man. So the sun also creates coronal mass ejections, which are essentially just northern lights or solar flares. You guys know how they keep saying that there's going to be a solar flare that puts the grid down. If you have strong discernment and you know the Bible, I would encourage you to start looking at these topics in the news because they make it, in my opinion, super obvious. What makes a cannibal coronal mass ejection? Cannibals eat people. God is a consuming fire. And we're supposed to be living sacrifices, right? I've been talking to you guys. I have found like a million reasons that in my mind completely prove that the rapture event or the second coming will be a Northern Lights global event. And I think that that will also roll back the scroll of the firmament, just like Isaiah and Revelation say. And I think they're calling it a cannibal CME because when you had to make offerings to God, he would come down and eat them via fire from the sky. So lightning from east to west, right? It's pretty standard for the auroras to create light arcs from east to west in polar regions. So I don't think that it's that far off to think that this could just be a global version. And I have antique science books that say that the northern lights are made of the exact same material as lightning. It's just a version that seeps down from the firmament rather than a concentrated strike like lightning would be. And Jesus says it would be like the days of Noah. And Noah is the agency that watches the northern lights like a hawk. They're obsessed with the auroras. Why would they name it Noah? My antique science books say that the auroras used to be classified as a type of cloud also. In Genesis 9, God said, "This is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I have set my bow in the cloud, rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth and the bow is in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh." So the reason that they're spraying and trying to stuff us all with these materials is because when this happens, it's either going to upgrade your DNA, and they're saying this openly. That's why I'm encouraging you guys to do your own research on it. Or if you're full of parasites and It will literally break your DNA strands. So it's my belief that when we walk in unrepentant sin, we give legal grounds in the spiritual realm for parasites and therefore metals, because they're a combined package, to live and enter our system. When we repent, they're taken. That's my personal belief. So what I think is going to happen, and this is not thus saith the Lord, this is, I think this, people that are full of unrepentant sin and like just walking in lawlessness, their DNA strands, and remember, your entire body is made up of DNA, are just going to snap. There will be people who are like upgraded, and that's like the rapture event. And then there's going to be people that are struck with leprosy or some form of like rapid cancer.
What?
And I think that's people that are like kind of repentant, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. If you go back through the Old Testament as well as the Ethiopian Bible, it seems to point to lawlessness being the mark of the beast. I talked a lot about this in past videos, but King Uzziah had a censer in his hand, and when he got angry with the priest for correcting him, he broke out in leprosy on his forehead. And when you look into what they're saying about this, they also believe what I'm saying. I'm just giving you what I think is like the biblical version of this. Some people will get struck with disease. Some people will have their DNA upgraded, which I think it's like the rapture, just my opinion. And some people's DNA will break in a way where they themselves just break. And that's why the grid will go down, because the internet and AI, we're the batteries, guys. That's what the data centers are for. We power all of that stuff. So they need us. If a bunch of people, either their DNA snaps and then like others leave entirely, that's obviously going to put the grid down because it's leeching on our life force. I also found it really interesting that in that video, that guy said it could happen right now. It could happen in a few days. No one knows the day or hour. It's going to come out of nowhere. I've been completely obsessed with the auroras for years now, and I can tell you with certainty, they have not tracked them this closely ever. Up until the last 6 months. I don't know what's making them think that they need to track it this closely, but they're watching for it. And I know we all have been watching for it too, because the spirit is tapping on our shoulders. I always recommend doing a parasite and heavy metal cleanse. I have the link in my bio for what I use. But also, if you don't plan on like repenting and walking with Jesus, there's not really a point, because it's just going to come back worse. So this isn't about asceticism. This is about preparing for what's coming and the coming deception, because they're obviously going to say that it's a solar flare or whatever nonsense they make up. It's the second coming.
She's so smart. Hey, you know, spirulina and cilantro are heavy metal detox, right?
It is a trap. Listen to me. A lot of these big mega pastors have signed up with the devil himself. You may have already heard this video, but you did not hear what I'm about to tell you, because I warned of this 2 years ago after interviewing a very big pastor who got offered this deal. They are going to be really mad at me for this one. Happy, healthy, can swim, all that good stuff. What do I mean? Let's back up. First off, it's pretty funny how Katy Perry's popping out as an ET with 6 fingers, right? Nephilim, 6 fingers, get it? So let me tell you how this started. I saw a really weird tweet on Twitter, and right when I saw it, I was like, it's go time. So right now, as this guy said, all these pastors got together in a certain state to be briefed on these ETs or this demonic stuff, right? Of course, it is demonic, but they always give you part of the truth. And now we have said pastors coming out and warning everyone, you're about to see these demons everywhere in our realm. So let's go back 2 years ago. I'm interviewing a very popular pastor who's at all of these speaking events. He's friends with all these other mega pastors. I'm gonna leave his name out for his safety, but what he told me on the off-air part was he was invited to something very strange that included NDAs from FEMA. I wonder why they'd be getting involved with pastors. And guess what? A whole bunch of mega pastors got them. And he knows a whole bunch that signed up with them. So these last 2 years, I've been just waiting for these mega pastors to start, getting ready to deceive people. And I wake up and I saw the tweet. And the tweet has to do with demons being everywhere and pastors being able to console their church. So you say, how is it a bad thing? Sounds like a good thing. They give you a little bit of the truth, but then guess what? So we get attacked by these demonic, the spiritual wickedness high places, right? Boom, obviously they're bad, right? But when the other ones come, the white ones come, they're going to say those are the good guys. This falls in line with finding Jesus' body in the desert. This also falls in with the things on Mars that prove the Bible's not real. Also links in perfectly with BB and Voice the Skull, and we're gonna see our God in the sky. Really? That sounds far-fetched? Well, let's think. 40s, desert, rituals, Ronald Ron, Jack Parsons, Walt Disney, the Shaw, Aleister Crowley, summoning Greys. Early 80s, Project BB leaks. 2026, a whole bunch of people start going missing about this very thing. It's about to get real. Spread the word. Believe nobody.
There was a scandal with Perry Stone, women claiming abuse. So yeah, there's that.
And then when you realize that they can measure your brainwaves with a magnet that doesn't touch your head, you realize that your thoughts are not in your head. And they're part of this greater field that we are all connected by. And they're now trying to understand how we actually store memories, which is a developing process. Some of it is protein-based, and some of it is this theory that we basically store our thoughts in the cloud. So basically you're accessing your own Wi-Fi field. And this is why there is a difference of like meeting somebody in person versus doing something over Zoom. Our biofields are interacting right now. There are low-level frequencies that our brains interact on. So having that biofield, you realize that like you have your own biofield. You are your own Wi-Fi. You emit your own Wi-Fi. And so then thoughts can be the process of some of that Wi-Fi coming in, mostly directed as life force and energy, which is why like how you practice your energy and how you maintain your energy can really direct how your thoughts come out.
As they're magnetically assaulting us many times without our knowledge or in our sleep.
You believe in reptiles?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do think that they are like part of like running this entire prison planet, whatever. But I also think like I've heard like one scientist talk about like they hide. We have contracts with them and they live under these like under mountains and they live under there. And that's where like the most amount of missing people go missing in national parks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they say like these national parks have like the most amount of tunnels. And it's like, do these things live under the tunnels? And we have contracts with them, like, don't come up. We'll feed you the, you know, they specifically
People.
like young kids or whatever.
Right.
Damn, that's a cold bar.
Babies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And
Eating
yeah, so that they
babies.
don't like show face or whatever. But
Right.
I do think that they are real.
Which is a great point because in national parks, again, going back to Bigfoot, for one, there's a national park law to where if you kill Bigfoot, it's illegal.
You have to admit that he's around.
But what is Bigfoot? Like, is it like a?
I think it's gene splicing.
I think it's gene splicing too.
Yep, yep.
And if
I'll
they're
watch
down there, that means shit. I mean, there's probably reptiles down there. And that's a great point because if people do go missing and then you have the Bigfoot sightings and all that stuff and whatnot, it could be to lure people in. Oh, let's go look for Bigfoot.
That's true.
And then boom, they go missing.
There's so many people that go missing in national parks. It's crazy. Every year.
So it's like people who were obsessed with Bigfoot. Now they're missing. Now they're food.
Now
they're food, right?
Now they're lunch.
Yeah. So it's crazy. It's layered. But all this shit, like if you look at it 10, 15 years ago, it's like, oh, this stuff is crazy. But now we have documented evidence.
Yeah.
We have the technology. Now we're seeing people like have their own testimonies. Like we had many people come here and say, I saw my significant other shapeshift.
Vampires, like
vampires and all this like, what the fuck is this?
And you know what's crazy? The craziest part is our reactions are just like, okay, yeah, vampires.
Right. I mean, like everybody here has sat with a straight face, like, oh yeah, my significant other, like his eyes blinked the other way.
And we're just like, oh really?
Like, oh wow.
Was that the Greys or was that the
right?
Like
Like it was
vampires?
just natural shit. And I was like, does anybody realize what the fuck we talk about?
I think that's what is coming ahead. I think all this stuff is about to be disclosed.
Yeah.
I think all this stuff, when it comes to vampires and Bigfoot and aliens, whatever you want to call it, all this shit is about to be completely just, here it is. Gravity is fake. Aliens are real. This, that. It's going to be like so much to where it's future shock, to where we're like, what do we do?
What do you do with this? But like when it does happen, I feel like that's a perfect time. Like everything drops, all the information comes out. And that's like a perfect time for them to do like a fake alien invasion or like the second coming of Christ. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Which is going to be faked.
Yeah, of course. I 100% think that. I think that's going to be a perfect time for them because just like the Epstein thing, it's like, it's gone.
The Epstein files.
Christ is coming for sure.
Like it's still out, but like it's like you just read all the information. Now what are you supposed to do with it?
Oh, the national park stories are wild. Look it up on YouTube.
You're going to die. So why the hell are you so worried about all this shit that you're worried about? You are on a rock spinning at around 1,000 miles an hour around the sun, which is one of the hundreds of billions of stars inside the Milky Way. I mean, hundreds of billions. And the Milky Way, is just one of the around 2 trillion galaxies in the universe. Hello? Are you worried about what people think? Worried about failing? Worried about looking stupid?
No.
Really? What if you knew you weren't going to wake up tomorrow? What if tonight was your last night? Would you still focus on the same bullshit? Or would you finally do what you know you're supposed to do? Think about that. Really, think about it. And let that decide your next move. Look, you are a tiny, infinitesimally small fraction of the whole universe. And your life is short. Don't waste it on stupid fears.
Nothing else matters. I don't care what people think.
And so the Majestic 12 was a Special Forces Operation Group. It specifically was created to deal with extraterrestrials. And so at that same time, there's a couple other species that were getting involved with us. And the President, Eisenhower, had apparently left the planet for a short amount of time to negotiate some deal with them in Antarctica. And so that's part of the reason why Antarctica is so classified, completely excluded. A lot of the documents point back to that. We used a direct energy weapon that we had gotten from Nikola Tesla after his death. The aliens, the Anunnaki race, was looking at White Sands because they had seen all this nuclear testing going on. They wanted to come look and see what the humans are doing, right? And so they flew by and were like, what is this aircraft? They probably thought it was like German or Russian because there were some German aircraft in the 40s that looked like UFOs. These aliens came to Roswell. We used a direct energy weapon at White Sands. We fired it at the aircraft. The aircraft crashes in Roswell. We go and collect the aircrafts. That's why everyone's all crazy about Roswell. We collect the bodies, all this stuff you can read in the unclassified stuff. They have to unclassify stuff like every 10 years.
In 2016...
left the planet to negotiate a deal in Antarctica. Did I hear that right?
A quiet patch of farmland in East Java revealed a secret. Beneath the soil of Dusun Kandi, in the shadow of Mount Kelud, archaeologists conducting an excavation suddenly struck stone.
East Java.
Entombed by centuries of eruptions and buried beneath layers.
That's where my mother lives.
Layers of volcanic ash were the remnants of a temple. And then as the excavation deepened, villagers and researchers alike stood in awe as suddenly they caught sight of a pair of stone guardians. And just beside them, something else emerged from the ground. Towering at 2.3 meters tall was the Makara, a mythical beast of temple lore which is believed to have been carved 1,000 years ago.
Indonesia is the center of the world. Look it up because we're in the middle of that line. We call it Katulistiwa.